Hey everybody, sit down around the hearth, grab a frosty mug of ale. Welcome to the Lion's Pride Tavern, where we discuss all things Azeroth. Hey everybody, this episode I would like to tell you I am terrible at math. So last week when I told you we had 350 subscribers, I was way off. And I'll explain that in a minute. We also had some awesome success this raid weekend, but first, let's introduce everybody. I'm your host, Fafford. I play a Dwarven Beastmaster Hunter in the awesome game World of Warcraft. Next up, we have Joe Bowie.
Hi, I'm Joe Bowie. I play a Worgen Fire Mage.
Next up, Lorelei.
Howdy, that's Lorelei, your Night Elf Fury Warrior.
An epistle from up north.
I am Epistle, and I am a Draenei Protection Paladin.
And Tappuccino.
Hello everyone, I'm Tappuccino and I play a Night Elf Restoration Druid.
And we have a special guest tonight, Niobe, back for the second time.
Hi, my name is Niobe. I play a human Retribution Paladin.
Awesome, and Niobe's been with us before, so we're going to skip his background because we already know it. And if you don't know it, go back and listen to our podcast, which you can find on lionsprideTavern.podomatic.com, or you can search on YouTube Lions Pride Tavern Podcast, and you'll see them listed there. So first question tonight, we're going to start off with this weekend's raid. How did we do? I'm kind of excited because I know how we did. So, Joe Bowie, why don't you give us a recap?
Well, I thought we did. First of all, I just say I thought we did great this week. We made some progress. We started off in Emerald Nightmare Normal, and we started with the Spider Boss, and we made our way all the way through Xavius, and took everybody out, I believe, one shot. And then maybe we did 2 pulls on Xavius. I think we might have done 2 pulls on Xavius, but we still completed it. Then we went back and we did Nethedra on Heroic, and that went very smoothly. People really got that fight down pretty well. We ran out of time that night at that point. So when we came back the next day, we decided to work on our progress in the Trials of Valor, and we took on Odin and defeated him. I believe it was our 8th pull in total as far as our tries against Odin, and it was a bit of a close thing, but it was very exciting, and there was much rejoicing.
Epistle, just how close were we on Trials of Valor?
You know, I'm really hoping next time we could celebrate our defeat of Odin with the tanks actually standing, because that's kind of the problem we've been having. We've been getting kind of knocked down, and everyone's desperately trying to finish off the boss while the DPS are still alive.
Yes, because that's exactly what happened. Both tanks died at the end. All that was left was DPS, and we had him down to, I think it was like 5 or 8% when they went down. So awesome job to all of our DPS members. They did fantastic. Speaking of DPS, Lorelei, what did you think?
I think we did really, really good. We did much, much better on Xavius. People were running blades out in the right direction and taking down all the ads, and it just went very smoothly this time. So people are picking it up and getting the mechanics down right, and we're moving right along.
So I didn't make it for the first part because I was actually at a very historic event. I was at the unveiling of the very first electric-powered semi. But anyway, so I missed the first fight, so I'm sure that's why you guys made it past the spider boss without me dying.
Yeah. Usually works that way.
And
if you're not there.
yeah. So Tappuccino, how do you think we did?
So I think we had a lot of fun again. It was great to start and be able to pretty much bang through the Emerald Nightmare bosses and to go on to finally defeat Odin. Yay, only after 2 weekends. It's pretty cool. And by the way, there were healers left, so that did kind of help our DPS take down Odin after the tanks were down. But good job on everybody's part. We did get him down. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I knew we were going to do it too because we every time we pulled him, we got a little bit further, a little bit further, a little bit further.
It was
You know,
easier to see like the clear areas where we were supposed to go and having the mark set up and having people call out which mark to go towards was very, very helpful, especially for the healers where we're looking so much at everybody's health and not so much as our feet per se.
Right.
It always feels that Blizzard is always trying to find a new way to put fire down and hide it. And on that fight, I could tell we're still just kind of getting the sense of whether the floor is glowy or blue or what exactly it is that needs us to run off of it. But we got there.
to a certain degree, I kind of have to disagree with them trying to hide it, because I really feel like Blizzard has been, working hard to putting visual effects on any effect on people, whereas in the past, we would just get a debuff, and you may not notice that little square in your debuff window, but now it's like a spell around you, which I think they've improved on that actually a little over the years.
So I know, Niobe, you did not play your paladin, but you played your rogue. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Just for the Emerald stuff, unfortunately, I had other festivities on the night you guys did the Halls of Valor.
Oh, that's right. What was that?
You're going to make me say it, aren't you?
Don't make us sing it.
It's either you say it or we
I turned
sing
another
it.
year older.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. You really don't want us to sing it.
No.
No, we had Tap sing one song one time, and that was the last time anybody sang. So
Oh, thanks.
I'm not saying that's bad. I'm just saying we ended with that.
No, but for the Emerald Run, I thought it was really, really smooth. We really got that down now. That's almost pretty much like on a farm status.
Yeah. So let me just ask all of you just really quick. Starting at Spider Boss, do you think that's a good starting spot to get first night, or do you think we should progress a little further and get another boss down before and then progress from there? What do you think?
I would personally, based on some of the numbers that I'm seeing from a lot of our DPS, and the healers have been not struggling a whole lot or as much as they used to, as far as mana goes and things of that nature. I personally think we should start on the Thendra Heroic and start progressing through Heroic. I think that would give us some of a bigger boost, especially going into Nighthold, than just continuing to farm on normal. I'm noticing a lot of the players in normal, while occasionally they get an item that's an upgrade, that's usually a small percentage, there's a lot of, hey, does anybody need this, and going on. And to me, that's kind of an indicator that maybe we move it up a little.
Usually the answer's been no, no one needs it. But that happened last night, that people were just passing on stuff.
Okay, so you guys think that when the loot comes up, they're trying to give it away because they've already got it? Because that's usually the indicator.
Yes.
Yeah, I think so. Especially when you get to a farm status. Just like I said earlier, I think we're ready to move on to making the Heroic the norm and go from there.
Yeah, and I don't think anybody will have a problem with it, because if they got gear off the first few bosses in normal, this is just going to be an upgrade for them anyway. So, all right. Anybody else got anything they want to add to that?
I think that's a good strategy. The only concern I would have would be that we don't want to get rusty on some of the fights.
Well, no, that's true. And the end, you're talking about the end bosses.
That's right.
Not
If we don't
doing
end
them
up
enough.
a little bit of time in there, then yeah. I know if we don't do Spider for a while and then have to come back to it, it might be a little bit tricky. But
You
we
know,
might have better gear by then and be doing other instances, so maybe not.
I might even suggest that, we start off on our Friday nights doing heroic, and if we hit a wall, then we come back on our Saturday night raid and we do normal, or maybe we take on some Trial of Valor and get some gear out of that. Just because if there's like a gear gap from some of the players or something like that, or just want to work on some successes or something else instead of banging our head against a wall on a boss that we're having trouble with that week, we could do something along those lines as well.
Maybe mix it up with part of that being an alt run if there's a feeling of, well, we're not getting any gear, but we want to keep fresh in. That's another way to have a fresh look in the fight.
Yeah. All right, so I've got a question that wasn't necessarily posed by one of our listeners, but I've always wanted to ask this. When and why should you use a Tome of Tranquil Mind for your class? Now, we got a ranged, we got a couple of melees, a tank, and a healer, but I'm curious, even on your alts, if there's a specific time when you use it all the time or when you don't. So, Joe Bowie, why don't you explain what a Tomb of Tranquil Mind does first, and then what you would do with it.
All right, so the Tome of Tranquil Mind, what that does is it gives you the ability to change your talents for your character outside of a resting zone. Normally, you can change them freely if you're in any of the player cities or inside a inn or anywhere that you get the little Z's next to your character name. And this just allows you to do it anywhere else for 1 minute. It gives you 1 minute to change your spec however you'd like. And you can change your talents up, 2, 3, 4 of them, or whatever. So that's how those work. Personally, I don't. I rarely use it. I know that there are some raiding groups that they want to be just set up perfect optimal for the next upcoming boss, and this one talent might be slightly better on this boss than on that boss. But for me, what I usually do is I usually try and find a healthy balance of if I've got a fight that's going to be very ad heavy, I have a decent AoE. If it's just single target, I have decent single target. So I just try and strike a balance with my talents and go from there, as opposed to swapping out talents like mid raid and that sort of thing. So I usually don't use those.
Okay, Lorelei, how about you?
I used to, in the last expansion, use them quite a bit to switch out between my AoE spells and my single target ones. But now that they're a lot more expensive to get hold of, I don't do that as often. Since they made Whirlwind a lot more usable, I've been relying on that a lot. I've been playing with some macros so that I can try Blade Storm from time to time, but I'm not relying on that as much anymore like I used to. So I maybe once during a raid I might try it, switching it out just to see how my DPS will go. But I've not used them as much as I did in the past.
Okay. Epistle?
I wonder if it's a little like flossing, something you think maybe is a good idea and you probably should be doing, but it's not a habit. I've done a little on my mage to try to optimize DPS, but on my tank I really haven't played around with it.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Tap?
I do not use them myself. Like Joe Bowie is saying, I like to have a balance of the talents, and I get so used to what I can do with what I have that I don't need to mess with it. And we've got a good heal team, like I've said before, that we kind of know what we can all do and what we can do together, and I haven't really found it necessary to have to switch talents. So I just haven't used them.
Niobe, what about you?
I'm right there with Tap, at least from the Ret Paladin standpoint. There's not really a whole lot that would require you to switch your talents around per se. So I really haven't done it myself either.
Oh, I guess that was a one-sided question because I don't do it a lot, but it depends on the boss as a hunter. Because there's the difference between barrage, which is hitting multiple targets, and then using murder of crows, which is just a single target attack damage. So it really depends on the boss, whether like the very last boss, they have all those ads that come out. I see a lot of barrages going off from the hunters.
That was an interesting question, though.
Well, I mean, I know there are some people that religiously, like Tobu was saying, swap between each boss, and they have to have those tomes. But I didn't realize they were still that expensive. So maybe that's why a lot of people aren't doing it.
Well, some people used to switch between specs all the time, but that's pretty much a thing of the past now.
Yeah.
Although I think that has more to do with artifact weapons than anything else.
Mm-hmm. And the cost of them.
All right, so one more question before I jump into our fantastic podcast news. Research notes. So it's 500 resources to research for the research notes. What good are they? What do they do for you, Joe Bowie?
Well, research notes provide you artifact knowledge. At 110, I believe right away at 110, it's unlocked in your class hall. One key thing to note about that is that for what they would call Vanguard players who leveled up their tunes to 110 right at the beginning of Legion, their cooldown on that is going to be for 5 days. That means you're going to get one set of research notes every 5 days. And you can have 2 of them queued up at a time, so you can always keep one cooking. Every time you use one of those things, it would give you an increase on your percentage gained from on artifact power items that you collect after you read the research note. New players, by the way, like a player that's just leveled up to 110, like today, only has a 3-day cooldown on their research notes. As we progress closer towards January, that will reduce down to about 2 days. So if you bring up an alt, your alt does have a little bit of a catch-up mechanic there. But basically what happens is you go out and you collect these items that provide artifact power. The artifact power is then used to increase the ranks on your artifact weapon. But the percentage from the artifact knowledge multiplies the artifact power item that you get. Now, it's not retroactive, so if you store them up in your bank, your artifact knowledge is not going to affect any of those, but it's any new that you collect afterwards. So let's say that your artifact knowledge level is giving you a 100% increase. That 100% increase would mean that if you collected an artifact power item that the last time you got one, it was 100, and now you have that 100% bonus. Now you're going to get 200 artifact power out of that instead. The artifact knowledge goes all the way up to level 25, and it increases by percentage by a significant amount. Like right now, I'm at artifact knowledge level 18, which gives me 5,700% artifact power gains, and that speeds things up, especially as you reach towards the end of your artifact weapon. And the top level is, I believe, 24,900%. So it's just shy of 25,000%. So by the time you reach artifact knowledge 25, leveling up your artifact weapon will become significantly easier.
Quick question: where do you find what level you're at?
Oh, yeah, you would, if you open up your character screen and you shift right click on your weapon, it will bring up a info panel about your weapon where you'll see your current relics, and you'll see what ranks you have chosen so far, and also blank spots for the ones you haven't. And in the upper left hand corner, you'll see a number, And the number there pertains to how many ranks you've purchased. But if you mouse over on that number, it'll put up a little tooltip window. At the bottom of that tooltip window is artifact knowledge level, and it'll give you a number, between 1 and 25. And then below that, it'll tell you how much it increases your artifact power gains by.
Awesome. Now, does anybody have anything they want to add to that?
Well, it's got an implication if you're leveling your tune or leveling some alts. What you want to do is get them to that level, get enough resources to start feeding that research. Whether or not you spend a lot of time on that tune, I think having that done and just popping it every so often will mean that when you finally do get around to farming anything for your weapon on an alt, it's going to be way more efficient use of your time.
Yeah, and I would say that I've leveled up 4 or 3 alts so far, and you generally get enough artifact power or garrison, or not garrison, class hall resources that you can keep your artifact knowledge cooking for quite a while. And that's what I do, is I just log into those alts even if I'm not playing them very often, and make sure that I pick up the artifact notes and recharge up the queue for my artifact knowledge, so that when I do get around to playing them, it won't take me as much time to get them caught up.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I do the same thing. Just keep it going all the time.
I actually happen to know exactly what date Joe Bowie is going to reach his maximum potential on artifact knowledge. I believe it's going to be January 5th. Well, I will receive my last artifact, my 25th rank on that. So I figured that out way at the beginning when it started off. I was like, 5-day cooldown, how many days? All right, what date would that be? And so, yeah, it's January 5th for me.
So it does take quite a while.
I'm actually a little jealous of my alt because she seems to do better than my main tune on getting artifact power and, leveling up.
All right. So our exciting news that I totally screwed up last podcast is... Dun, 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 dun. So we've had 13 podcasts. So what I looked at, when I looked at our stats, I saw 2,706 downloads and divided that by the number of podcasts we did, and I came up with 350 subscribers. That's totally wrong. Okay, so this week we have 2,706 downloads from Podomatic's website. So at 13 episodes, we're at 208 downloads per episode just with Podomatic. Okay,
Nice.
I forgot all about iTunes and Google Play and YouTube. Well, Podomatic also tracks those. Here's the exciting number. Since inception, 13 episodes ago, we've had not only the 2,706 from Podomatic, but we've had 15,078 plays of our
What?
podcast. Yes.
Wow.
Wow.
That's
Hello, world.
1,160 per episode plus the 208. So we're at 1,300 listeners per podcast on average.
Wow, that's really, really cool. Thank you, listeners. And
Wow.
I'm glad you like the show.
Yeah, keep listening.
Yeah, I mean that's when I saw that it's kind of funny because when you go to the Podomatic stats, it's just down in the bottom and it just says something like unique feeds, formerly subscribers. And I was like, what? What is that? I clicked on it and it tracks the iTunes plays, the Google plays, and the YouTube plays. Anything that's played when I upload that is tracked. And I mean, guys, 15,000. That's amazing in the short period of time that we've been doing this. Now, what's really cool is it also tracks where it can, and this is just Podomatic, because it can't track where the Google plays are coming from or where the YouTube plays, because that would be YouTube itself or the iTunes. So it only tracks where the where the Podomatic downloads are coming from. And 190 of them are in the USA, 26 in Canada, and I at least know where one's at. Maybe, well, I know where two's at.
Or two.
There's 2 in the UK, and here's what really gets me. There's 2 in Guyana, which is South Africa, one in Australia, and just this week, our first Brazilian listener that went through
Yay.
Podomatic.
Hello, Brazil.
Yes.
Wow. Hello, the world.
Right. So,
I'd like to give a shout out to all my peeps around the world.
yeah, right? So fantastic news, guys. That's huge for us. So I just want to put out there, how do you find this podcast? Let people know. You go to Podomatic.com. It's actually lionsprideTavern.podomatic.com. You can go to YouTube, search Lions Pride Tavern Podcast, and you'll get to my YouTube channel. It's Captain Adonis there. And you can watch those YouTube podcast presentations. It also features our main artist there, Donna Bell. She draws. We send her screenshots of our characters, and then as the podcast plays, you can watch her draw that actual character that she got that week to draw out. So that's pretty exciting too. So.
Thank you to her very much for doing that.
And she absolutely loves it. She did tell me, though, that when we first started, because I was really pushing her, I was like, okay, I need next week's by tomorrow. And she's like, oh, my God. She goes, my hand was cramping up. So, yes,
Such
thank
a
you,
slave
Donna Bell.
driver.
I know.
Well,
Thank
it's
you
nice
very
to know
much.
Nice to know that people are enjoying it as much as we're enjoying making it.
Yeah, and that's a really good point, because I really enjoy it. I look forward to it every Sunday when we get together. We don't publish till Monday, but I look forward to it every weekend. Those few weekends that I was off, I was really nervous about that. I thought our subscriptions would really drop off and we'd be back down to, well, it's the 5 people that are in the podcast listening to us. Because you never know until you hear those stats, and it's just amazing. 15,000 downloads since in 13 weeks, basically 13 weeks.
I think we should also do a shout out and a thank you to Realm Maintenance for putting us on their website, because that's where I go to find a lot of other things to listen to as well. And having us up there with that group of people that usually a lot of them are very established podcasts, tells me that they think enough of us to put us up there with people like who've been, doing podcasts for years and go to cons and talk to people, and we're kind of in good company now.
Yeah,
Well,
very, very true.
let's also not forget to shout out to the 5 of you. I mean, if you guys didn't come up with the content that you come up with for each week, I mean, people wouldn't listen to it. So I'd like to give a congrats to the 5 of you that do this every Sunday. So thank you.
Well,
Aw.
thank you.
Very
Big
welcome.
pleasure, and thank you.
I definitely know I can speak for everybody when I say we all really enjoy it.
It's true.
And there again, another little blurb here. Please, guys, leave us comments, questions that you might have. You can drop them on the YouTube channel. You can go to Podomatic. We did have during our raid, I announced this. We had one of our followers go there and actually subscribe to the Podomatic channel. And so now I have 3 subscribers. Not a lot of subscribers there, but I think a lot of our stuff comes through, like Lorelei said, it comes through Realm Maintenance. That was huge when they picked us up. And, I did that because I started a Twitter feed for my YouTube channel. And of course, I incorporate the World of Warcraft podcast in my YouTube channel. And they picked it right up off of there. And I think that really did a lot for us. So, yes, please leave us comments. Leave them anywhere. My email address, if you just want to email it instead of leaving a comment, is lionsprideTavern@yahoo.com. So it's that simple. It's just like our logo. So, which was made by Joe Bowie.
Thank you.
So
You can't see it, but he's bowing right now.
So that was my exciting news. I mean, I've been trying, man, you don't know how hard it was for me to keep that secret.
All weekend, yeah.
Well, and I came in to the raid knowing this because I realized it like Thursday, and I was like, oh my gosh, I totally screwed that up when I said 350 followers, and we were all excited about 350. So
I am just like, I because of my problems, I apologize with my feedback. I just want to like shout for joy, but I have to wait till everybody stops talking. So I'm shouting for joy. Thank you,
We should,
everybody. Thank you,
we should
listeners.
pass that digital hat and buy you a new microphone.
yeah, yeah, there is a spot on Podomatic.com where you can donate if you would like to.
Buy Tap a new mic fund.
All right, so we got a question directly from Tappuccino. She has, well, I don't think it's a question, but she has something she wants to talk about for herbalism. Tappuccino.
All right, so for herbalism, if you're a rank 3 herbalist, you may have noticed that you're picking up seeds from certain flowers that you pick. You might pick a starlight or a star rose and find that you've got a starlight seed or, a dream leaf or whatever. Well, those seeds can be planted in fertile soil, which is found along riverbanks and lakes. A couple that I have found, some plots are at the Ironhorn Enclave in High Mountain and Iron Grove Retreat in Suramar. So if you plant one of your seeds in one of those plots, and they'll glow, there'll be a glowing circle around the plot. You plant a seed, and about 30 seconds later, a flower will bloom, and you can pick it. Well, I was wondering, I wonder if, like in other things that you can pick or mine, and the nodes don't go away so somebody else can pick or mine it, if that would work with this as well. So yesterday I was at one of these sites and there was a priest, I believe, who was going around, and she must have had a lot of seeds because she's planting stuff. And as she's picking her plants, I was able to go over and pick them as well, which was a very nice thing. I mean, it didn't work for certain plants like fellwort, and I think it had to be, depending on where your plots were. But the one in Suramar, whenever we would plant a starlight rose, we would all be able to pick it. So she was able to pick it, I was able to pick it, other people that came along were able to pick it, which is, as you herbalists know, it can be kind of tough to, to collect herbs. So I thought that was like something that was pretty cool, that, that you can plant seeds and, share it with other people. So if you've got like a group of herbalists that you want to get together with and go picking flowers, it might be a way for, to help everybody get, collect herbs, especially those hard to get ones like the starlight rose, where you don't get one at a time. And the hungering witherers that sometimes spawn, that will give you, 4 or 5 when you kill them, they will also spawn as well, randomly like they do otherwise. So I thought that was kind of a cool thing that I wanted to share with our listeners about herbalism.
That's good. Good idea.
So I'm just sitting here going, wow, looking for group herbalism planting party. No, literally, no, think about it. You get 5 or 6 people together, and each one of them can plant, and each one of them can pick each other's plants. That's huge. You can come away with a lot of stuff really quick.
Well,
could,
it worked
and
in Garrison fishing when you had like, what, 50, 60 people standing at your pond and everybody was fishing up the little rare little mini boss down there.
Oh, yep, like that.
Now, you're going to have to explain that one because I didn't do that. I don't fish, so.
Oh, well, right toward the end when you could get, were there 2 special mounts that you could use in Legion? I know one was a turtle. I got a turtle. And you could group up. You could get your looking for group, and everybody could be ported to somebody's Garrison fishing pond. And as everybody's fishing and they're throwing in, there's a fish that you could throw in, and a little mini boss would pop up and you kill him and you get a bunch of stuff. But what you were getting were the Nats coins. That was the big draw. So you've got everybody fishing, everybody throwing things in, the mini boss coming up, and you're getting hundreds of coins to use to buy this turtle. Or actually, the turtle was a drop from the mini boss. So people would be there every day in groups just fishing for this one sea turtle.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was something to see.
So, Tap, you might have to try that out. Try looking for groups, see if you can get 4 or 5 herbalists together and run out there to Suramar and see if that works.
Yeah,
And that might be a new thing.
it could be fun. I mean, the seeds seem to be dropping a little more often. I don't know if they did some, fix or whatever, but it seems, or maybe just being rank 3. I don't know. Well, you don't get them until you're rank 3, so maybe that doesn't make sense. But it seems like the seeds seem to be dropping a little more often, so it might be a fun party.
Well, we got a little time. Let's talk about professions. Just go ahead and pick one when I call your name, and if you do professions, and talk about it if you'd like to. So we'll start off with Joe Bowie.
I do enchanting and tailoring, and I've actually found a little bit of use for tailoring, and it's primarily just filling in the blanks in my gear. You can if you've got a tune that wears cloth, you can create a piece of imbued silkweave gear, and then upgrade it with the obliterum. And you can, if you get the right piece of gear, it can actually be a pretty decent upgrade at 855 over, maybe a lower piece of gear that you had.
So let me interrupt you real quick. Where do you get obliterum?
Obliterum can either be bought from the auction house, or there is a Fell Forge in Dalaran that requires you to do some quests and to get some items, which you probably are going to have to buy off the auction house from other crafters in order to finish. But then you take crafted items and you put them in the Fell Forge and you smash them into an ash. And once you get 100 of the ash, then that can form into an obliterum. And one obliterum will upgrade your weapon or your piece of gear one time, which is 5 item levels, I believe. They start at 815, and you can upgrade them currently 8 times. Originally it was 7, but they changed it to 8. And you can take them up to level 855 using obliterum.
Now, does it give it any special title, like when you get Warforged or anything like that?
No, they don't seem to do that. It does change the item from being a blue item to a purple item. So it goes from being a rare item to an elite item. But it does not change anything else about it. It doesn't change visual appearance of the item or anything of that nature. It just upgrades its capabilities and makes it a higher item level item.
And it just upgrades a crafted item.
Yeah, the obliterum only works on crafted items, and I believe jewel crafters can make them. Blacksmiths, tailoring, leatherworkers, things of that nature can make these crafted items that start off at 815, and then using 8 obliterum, you can take them all the way up to 855. And they have like random stats to a certain degree when you create them. There'll be people might be familiar with in Warlords of Draenor. You would get things like such and such item of the Fire Flash or of the Quick Blade or of the Peerless, etc., which have different stat combinations on them, and then those stat combinations can be different amounts. For example, a Quick Blade item is critical strike and versatility, and the Quick Blade item might have a ton of versatility, or it might have a ton of critical strike, or it might have a decent even mixture of both. And then as you upgrade it, those stats will increase as well. So you might want to keep an eye out for the ones that might be most optimal for your character. As a fire mage, for me, that's critical strike, with the secondary stat of going to be either haste or versatility, generally speaking, these days. And so I look for an item that would give me a lot of crit and a little bit of haste or a little bit of versatility, and then I upgrade that item.
Lorelei?
I have not done a lot of work to max out my blacksmithing on Lorelei yet. I can make the demon steel arm guards for that quest that everybody needs if they want to make the forge. So I've been making those and selling them. I've focused more on my alchemist so that I can make flasks, because I got really tired of paying those prices. So I've gotten to where I can make all the flasks except the spirit cauldron. So now I can start working on someone else. So I'll probably go back with Lorelei and work on that a little bit, or work on my enchanter and tailor.
Okay. Epistle?
I'm the same as Lorelei in that I'm doing the same professions. Right now, though, there's only one profession that I've actually leveled up to 800 on any tune, and that's actually fishing. I have a love-hate relationship with fishing, but somehow I've managed to level up on one of my tunes. If people aren't really familiar with fishing, what you can do now, if you know the Draenor fishing, they've switched it up in Legion, and there's a secret place that you may or may not know about. So there's a break in the wall in Dalaran, just northwest of the Violet Citadel, that if you go through there and then leap off the edge and have a glider or something like that that's going to help you survive, you're actually able to coast down and land on this little island. And there's this dude who is Conjurer Margos. He's kind of the new Nat Pagal.
Oh, okay.
And so there's a few cool things you can do there. You can fish up, what's the name of the thing? You get an arcane lure, and it gives you some other amusing things like baubles and whatnot that'll allow you to level up your fishing. But I was also surprised. Something I think they've done well is maybe an apology for how they change things around in Draenor, is you can, as many people might already know, you can fish, you can herb, you can do a lot of things at a low level. Instead of getting only fragments of resources, you can get full resources, so you're not wasting your time, and you level up at the same time. So that's, I found, encouraging for me to re-engage something like herbalism, which I had on my healer, but then thought maybe I wouldn't after my level went down to 0 again on that in Draenor. So I'm gradually leveling up a few things, but fishing being the first of those, because you can fish with no penalty and still get useful materials.
Yeah, I did notice that too, because I started off with my hunter having skinning and mining, and when we first got into this, I was the same way. I didn't want to pay those exorbitant prices for potions, so I switched to herbalism. Of course, you start off at level 1. I was like, oh my god, I'm never going to be able to herb out here, but you can. I don't think you get quite as many herbs if you were higher level. That's possible. I haven't really experimented with that to see if that was true. Does anybody know if that's true?
I'm
Well,
getting a
just
decent
like-
amount on my herbalist.
You get ranked.
Yeah, the better the rank, I think not so much. Well, maybe the more you can get of some of the regular herbs, but I know it makes it easier. You don't have to use as many mats to make things once you get to rank 3.
Or with the herbalism, for instance, you get at first you might get like the stems and such, but as you get quests, like you'll pick some flowers and you'll get a quest to turn it into the herbalist in Dalaran, and then she'll have you go out and get, like 10 or 20 or whatever more of those same flowers and turn those in. You can also get additional herbs to appear. That's where, you might have the flowers appear that you have to kill, or the Nightborns that will, give you more Starlight Rose, things like that with the rank 3. And the rank 3 will also give you the seeds that you can plant.
Well, my herbalist is really low, relatively speaking, maybe 280 or so. But I'm getting the seeds. I'm getting full herbs. Maybe it's only 1 or 2 rather than if there's more. But it still makes it worthwhile.
Absolutely,
So
Definitely.
yeah, absolutely.
as
The
opposed to
seeds,
what it used to be.
you'll get the I don't even know what they're called. They're hard to pronounce. The Ysareline seeds. You'll get those with rank 1 and 2. But you have to be a rank 3 herbalist, I believe, to get, or at least to plant the other seeds.
I actually managed to plant one just earlier today, which surprised me. I hadn't seen it before, but I think they're being a little generous because they switched up the rules.
Oh, that could be. Yep, that could be. Like I said, they seemed to be dropping a lot more too.
How about Niobe?
I've been mainly just working on engineering and mining, and I do know, I started out lower level with the mining, and as you get ranked up in mining, you get more resources per node.
As you're, yeah, okay. Yeah.
So probably parallel to herbing.
Yes, I would imagine. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And as far as the engineering just got some really cool gadgets. Like lately, I've been putting the pylons out. So if you get a wipe and you're within 5 feet, it resurrects everybody.
You have that nice base versatility food too.
Yep. Then there's the table, the engineering table, which buffs everyone's versatility, and of course the creation that makes that um, currently has a repair mode, has a pylon mode, and then the table mode. So it's really kind of cool that you got one thing that'll do 3 different functions.
Very cool. Yeah, I don't know much about engineering. I did an engineer years ago and never really did anything with him.
Yeah, so there's a lot of cool things there, a lot of utility.
Anybody have anything else they want to talk about as far as professions?
Only that I wish they would, in the enchanting, I can make some relics, and I really wish they would make those relics be able to take obliterum so we could make relics that are actually useful for players. They're still stuck at 805, and that's really only useful for fresh 110s. Not really useful for high level play. And it'd be really cool if we could make a relic that goes into our weapon that is actually useful.
Yes, indeed.
I was kind of going to say that the same type of thing for the trinket that you can make with alchemy. This is the first expansion where I actually have not taken a trinket and maxed it out and have been able to wear it because of the mats that it takes. It's so dependent on every other profession, the blacksmith, the engineering and such, and they're so expensive that I haven't even bothered to deal with it. And it's for the obliterum, so it's kind of disappointing I can't, make my, max out my trinket like I had before.
So, just a quick question on the obliterum again there, Joe Bowie. Is when you use that, is it on a bind on equip or a bind on pickup?
The obliterum itself is tradable. So if you make an obliterum, you can sell it on the auction house, or trade it to another player. But once you've used it, it's expended and it goes into that item. And your item, if you take an item and you upgrade it, it becomes soulbound. You cannot sell a pre-upgraded item on the auction house.
All right, that was my question. Is it just for then? Basically, then it's just for you to use. You couldn't upgrade items and then put them on the auction house.
Correct. You can only sell the items at their original stock 815 item level.
Yeah.
Right.
So if you want the higher item level, you're going to have to do the profession and get it up yourself. And then you can buy the obliterum, but you still have to do it yourself.
Well, yeah, you can. I mean, you can find the item on the auction house. In fact, that's a really good way to find the item. Like, for example, my jewel crafter is not very high level yet, and I've got the jewel crafter neck piece, and I did have a jewel crafter ring. It's since been replaced. Where I went through on the auction house and I found one that suited what I was looking for stats wise, and then purchased that. And you will find that the more sought after stats are very heftily priced. I sometimes see those 815 pieces selling for 150,000 gold, depending on the stats that are on them, because people want these like pure stats, like like pure, like critical strike. You almost never see those. Those sell for as much as 200,000 or more. And so like some people will go for the ones that just have a single stat instead of double stats. But yeah, sometimes you can find one, and I highly recommend this. If you're working on a budget, which a lot of players are, go through and try and find one that has the stats that are good for you, even if it's not like the perfect optimal stat. Like I could have found a decimator one that had just critical strike on it and paid 250,000 gold, but instead I found a quick blade one that had critical strike and versatility, and I only paid 4,000 gold for it. So you can find a crafted item a little bit cheaper and then upgrade it with some obliterum, and it'll be almost as good as the decimator one that costs an exorbitant amount of gold.
Well, Joe Bowie, I know you've been putting some time and energy into this, but isn't there some rumor going around that secondary stats might be shifting in value, so that this might not be a good time to invest in that, or do you think that's not going to be a big deal?
Yeah, what with the new patch that's coming up in the not so far future, patch 7.15, they are attempting to normalize our secondary stats to a certain degree. They are trying to fix the problem of you have an 835 piece of gear that has really perfect stats for you, and then you get an 850 piece of gear, and the stats are not quite as perfect, but you don't put on that 850 piece of gear because technically the 835 piece of gear is making you more powerful than that 850 piece of gear. And they were trying to make it so that people will want to put on the 850 gear regardless of the stats that are on it. So they're trying to make the secondary stats such as crit, haste, versatility, mastery more level as far as the benefits to your character. So for right now, at least, um, there are very specific stats that are going to make a toon more powerful than other stats will. Like with fire mages, it's all about the crit. And so we always look for a gear that has tons of crit. And then, of course, as a secondary stat, some of us, if we want more AoE, will go mastery. Uh, Raid or single targeters will look for more versatility or haste. So, we can optimize our tune out that way. But it remains to be seen how well this rebalancing of the secondary stats will go and how much effect that will have on whether or not the gear is really optimal for you. I suspect there will still be optimal gear. It just may not be as dramatic as it is now.
I'm thinking at 150 gold, 150,000 gold, I might be a little hesitant to put down that much money until I knew how it was going to shape up.
Yeah. Well, I highly recommend going for the cheaper route, personally. I think you get like 95% of the effect for 5% of the cost. So I think it's really just on a cost effectiveness basis alone, getting that other item that maybe just suboptimal, but very close to optimal is a lot better than going for the perfect item that costs you a lot of gold. I mean, if you've got millions of gold, then you may not care, but a lot of players don't. So, spend wisely.
Good advice. I mean, I know with the alchemist's trinket, the only stat we get on it is versatility for whatever reason, and we equip it, and you can, increase your strength, agility, or intellect, and it also helps with your healing and mana potions. It increases the effect by 40%. But the Obliterum, to make this into a, 5 points per Obliterum, you end up with an 860 Alchemist Stone after buying 8 Obliterum at, almost over about 24,000 gold. It may not be worth it right now. I mean, it has gone down. I was just checking it out right now. For something, a stat versatility, I mean, I don't even know why I would have that at this time, but maybe, like you said, in the future that might be a useful stat. But it's not something I'm ready to put that amount of gold down on to take that chance.
All right, guys, it's time for those last two questions. So, any plain tips or tricks that you guys might have for our listeners? Just something, it can be something simple, it can be something that you don't know about, it could be something you do know about, but just a tip or trick for playing World of Warcraft that you like using or you just discovered. Joe Bowie?
The tip that I would give players today is to look through your class hall champions and see which one of them is going to give you a nice effect, or maybe they run around with you as a bodyguard, and to go ahead and put that bodyguard into play, or get that effect from that champion. As a mage, especially a fire mage, I use Archmage Vargoth. He gives me a buff which has a 5-minute cooldown. It lasts for an hour, but to call him is a 5-minute cooldown, and that gives me a 30% buff to my spell power, which doing open world content, PvE, that is phenomenally good. My DPS is through the roof when I'm out killing mobs by myself out in the world, and it has helped a ton. And so I highly recommend that you look through your available champions, maybe find one that has an effect that you like or that would be beneficial to you, and to use those champions to your advantage when you're out doing quests or world quests. You can also, of course, if you have these champions, they get slots, and you can put bonus items in their slots, like little upgrades. And on my Archmage Vargoth, I have one that I got from the Withered Combat training that gives me 100 class hall resources every time I complete a world quest. And in his second slot, that is now unlocked because he's rare now, or he's epic level now, purple. He gives me an item that gives me 25 gold every time I do a world quest. So every time I do a single world quest, I get automatically 100 class hall resources and 25 gold, and I'm running around with this mad buff that makes it a lot easier for me to play in PvE content.
All right, so I just logged on to my mage and I'm going, Vargoth. Where do you get Vargoth?
You know, it's a part of your class hall quests.
Okay.
I don't recall exactly at what point. I do know that if a player finishes their class hall quests and they complete all of those, they will have the full selection available of all the possible champions that they can get for that particular class. And I don't recall exactly at what point you get Vargoth, but I do know it's later on in the Mage class hall quests. Very, very cool one, though.
Yeah, that makes sense because I haven't completed mine. But I do like the guy I'm running around with. That's Archmage Modira, because he does that freeze in place. What's it called? The Frost Nova.
Frost Nova?
Yes. And I use Frost Nova, so I'll freeze them and hit them, and then they'll start coming. Then he'll hit them and freeze them, and I can back up and keep hitting them. It's the only way I can do it because I get so frustrated out there by myself with my mage. So just had to throw that out there. Lorelei, you got any tips or tricks?
My tip is just don't forget about the Dark Moon Fair. It's going on this week, and it's a good place to get 5 extra points in each of your professions. So if you're trying to get your alts moving along, this is like the best way to do it. Just keep every month just 5 more points. Even if I don't get to run them very much, their professions are still going up bit by bit.
All right, Epistle?
A very simple one that I don't know when it came out, but is really helpful. I hadn't noticed it. If you're doing something like cooking and you have all your learned spells or all your learned abilities, and then you go, oh, what don't I have? If you look, you'll see a little tab called Unlearned. You click on that, and it'll show you all the things you haven't figured out yet. So, for example, on my Druid, I don't have any cooking at all, but when I click on the Unlearned, it shows me a list of all of them: crispy bacon, wildfowl omelet, this is not easy. Spiced wildfowl omelet, nope. Spiced wildfowl omelet, and it'll tell you when you click on it where you get it from, whether it's from the test kitchen or whether it's a quest giver or whether it's a world drop. Makes it a lot easier to figure out what you have and don't have and where to get it.
Hey, you being Canadian, I just always thought omelette was correct.
Omelet.
Omelette. I like that.
I don't know why I was stuck on that, but oh well.
Amulet sounds like some sort of dungeon.
or a French dish.
Or something you wear around your neck.
So I do have to say, and I know my son's probably not listening to these podcasts, but he used to say garjib for garbage. Cappuccino, tips or tricks?
Flower power, baby. Get together with those flower parties and pick some herbs.
You got to give us a report next week on whether that works or not to do a looking for group?
I will try. I will try to do that. I think I want to collect a bunch of seeds first, just so I don't have a, so I have a party to be able to start. But yeah, and I ate that epistle, that hint on the cooking. I didn't know that. I was just checking it out, and I'm like, hey, I can get some of these recipes.
Very cool. So
Thank you
I'll
for
go
that.
flower picking with you then.
Yeah, there you go. You got a flower picking buddy.
Right.
How about Niobe? You got any tips or tricks for our listeners?
The only thing I can think of is, well, Joe Bowie already talked about, keeping your artifact research going, but it's escaping me. But there's the other guy in your class hall that you keep putting resources into, and he does another type of research for you, and eventually allow you to unlock your ability to get that second. Was it the legendary? Yeah, the orange one.
The class hall upgrades. Yeah.
All right. And on to our very last question of the podcast. Add-ons that you might recommend to our listeners. Joe Bowie?
Okay, this week I'm going to recommend one that I've recommended before, but for a very particular reason, and that would be saved instances. Saved instances is an add-on that gives you the ability to look quickly at a glance and see what have you done this week since the last reset, on what tunes you did them, how many weekly quests and that sort of thing, how much gold you've gotten, and all kinds of different data. But there is a feature in there that I discovered this week, which I don't know if it's new exactly. I think it's a new update in this this add-on. But when you kill a boss, you get a little bonus roll window that pops up. And what saved instances does with that bonus roll window is on the right-hand side of the bonus roll window, right to the right of either the roll or pass buttons, there's a little button or the little square that'll pop out, and it will show you a number. That number might be 0 or +1 or +2. And what that number represents is how many times you've used a bonus roll and gotten gold instead of gotten loot. Now there's a bad luck mechanic that not everybody knows about, and every time you do a bonus roll, if you get gold, then your chances increase the next time you use a bonus roll of getting loot. And it keeps increasing until you eventually get loot. So it becomes impossible for you to roll for a piece of loot and end up getting gold over and over and over again. Eventually you are going to get loot. And from my experience, I find that it goes no more than 2 or 3 times usually before a piece of loot will drop. And what this little box shows you is, like I said, how many times you've gotten gold the last few times. And if you mouse over on it, it'll actually show you the last 10 things that you used a bonus roll on, what boss that you used the bonus roll on, whether or not you got gold or you got a piece of gear, and it'll list off what piece of gear you got when you did bonus roll. And I just think that that's a really great way to keep track of how high your bad luck mechanic has gotten, and what you've gotten with your bonus rolls. And because like there might be this item that you really want off of a particular boss, and if you're at a +2 or a +3, then maybe save that bonus roll until you get to that boss and kill it, and you might increase your chances of getting that special piece of loot you've been looking for.
Lorelei?
I'm going to mention a couple of pet battle add-ons. I don't think they've been mentioned before. I like Battle Pet Daily Tamer, and that one will put the little paw symbol on your map. So if you're looking for the Battle Pet Tamers to do your world quest, you can find them on your big map and get there quickly. And Pet Battle Teams is another good one where you can set up a lot of different teams, and all you have to, and it will name them with each of the tamers. You do that yourself. And whenever you go to that tamer, you just pull up your journal and you click on that tamer, and it will pull the whole team up, and you can get started on your pet battles. So if you really like doing your pet battles, those are 2. I have 4 that I use, but those are the 2 that I really like a lot.
Awesome. Epistle.
I'm at the stage now where I'm more pruning back some of the ones I have than adding some new ones, trying to get a little leaner and meaner and focused on what I'm really wanting to see on screen. So no new ones this week.
All right, very good. Yeah, not a problem. Tappuccino.
This week I'd like to mention the add-on MaxCam. I don't think we've mentioned it before, I'm not sure. But, with Legion, they don't have that distance, camera distance function, I believe. So there is an add-on called MaxCam that will help you to, zone out, or not zone out, but max out your distance so that you're not so close to the fight and you can see more of what's going on around you.
Okay. Yep, that one's a good one. Niobe?
Well, from a melee perspective, there's one that comes to heart. GTFO. Now, I'm not going to say what that stands for because I think this is PG-13, but just definitely keeps you out of stuff you shouldn't be in.
Yep, gives you all the alarm bells and everything. Yep. Anyway, everybody, thank you for tonight. That was a lot of fun. We'll see you all next weekend. Thanks to our listeners. Please leave us comments. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Subscribe to our Podomatic website, lionspridetavern.podomatic.com. Let us know what you think. We'd love to hear from you.
Thank you very much,
Bye.
folks.
Don't
Thank
forget
you.
to
Thank
tell
you.
your friends, especially Brazil. We need more people.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks for listening and for your support.
I personally would like to see a lot more from the UK than 2.
Yeah, what's going on with that?
I don't know. I might have to go fishing over there.
Maybe we talk funny.
Hey.
Yeah.
Good night, everybody.
Park the car
Good
in the
night.
garage.
Good night.
Good night.
If you like this podcast, throw us a like and subscribe to our channel. And please, leave comments or questions below. Maybe we'll answer them on the air next podcast. We are hosted on Podomatic.com. Our website is lionspridetavern.podomatic.com. Our podcast also airs on iTunes for Apple users, Google Play for Androids, and YouTube. Just search World of Warcraft Lions Pride Tavern podcast. See you next week, and thanks for listening.